I've always loved looking for texts, and well, I read a lot. I read a lot of poetry. The funny thing is that a lot of words don't have music in them to me, or they don't feel like words that need to be set. And I find a real connection. I can find the text, and then suddenly that it brings about the whole perspective of setting it to music. I've had a very nice experience though over the last 7 years now, 8 years. I met a poet called Charles Bennett, who he sent me a book of poems which I loved actually, and I wrote a piece for the King's Singers called Swimming Over London, which actually was a text that it was a poem that he'd written, and I asked him could he make a lyric out of the poem, which he did, and I've worked a lot with Charles. We've written a huge amount, and the big piece, The Angry Planet, I wrote for the Proms. He wrote wonderful text for that, and interestingly, when I've spoken to Charles, who is a poet through and through, he said to me, since working with you, I've found another part. I've found this lyric quality in myself that I didn't know was there, and I think it's been very good from his point of view. But I find when I get words from him that, or I give him an idea to write text. So we wrote a piece called 5 Days That Changed the World, and I gave him the idea of the piece, and he came back with something that I wasn't expecting. And that's what I love too, because then when you're faced with words that you weren't expecting, it takes you in another direction. I found that quite inspiring, and for me the collaborative aspect of working with a poet is something I love actually. It gives me much more imagination, and that's been a very important thing in my work.